Dear Lauren, my husband is having an affair with a coworker 10 years younger than him. He met her right after we conceived our third child, and when I discovered their affair 4 months into the pregnancy, he told me he wanted a divorce. It's been 10 months since discovery, and he still lives with me. We're still not legally separated. He's moved out of our bedroom, and we barely talk. We started mediation, but as soon as we got to the part where we actually do the work, it's been stalled, and he's no longer pushing for anything legal to happen. How do I get over the hope that he might still want to make it work, even though I'm not sure I want to anymore? I'm not sure if the only reason I'm holding on to the hope is because I was hurt so badly by being discarded at such a vulnerable time. So now I just want him to realize he made a mistake and to finally be chosen. Or if it's because I'm still mourning the idea of not having the family I dreamed of us being. Or if it's genuinely because I want to be with him, knowing we could actually heal from this and have a great relationship if he'd be willing to do the work. Either way, I'm struggling with this final piece, and it's really inhibiting the way I can accept where I am in my life and my quote-unquote marriage. I don't know how to accept and move on. Sincerely, tired and stuck. Oh, tired and stuck, how I resonate with your letter. Your letter feels to me like the hallmark situation where a spouse who had an affair isn't doing anything because they're in this weird space where they actually have it all, even though the affair was discovered. So what I mean by that is your husband doesn't actually have to do anything. And it sounds like he's really ambivalent. So even though he said he wanted a divorce, when you discovered the affair, his follow-through isn't there, which means that there's some reason that he is not pressing forward with the actual dissolution of the marriage. I wonder, and your letter doesn't address this, whether the affair is still continuing and whether he's maybe purposefully or not using this time to sort out and gather more information about this extramarital relationship and whether or not he really does want to pursue it. Either way, it's not right and it's not fair to you. Or if that's not the purpose of the affair continuing, which I would imagine the affair is continuing because there's no mention that it ended, then he's probably having all of his needs met. He gets to live in the house with you, which even though you're estranged, it's still the house that he's financially contributing to. It's the house where his children live, and it allows him to stay rooted in his daily life, largely unchanged, other than having moved out of the bedroom. So, there's a lot of value, as I'm sure there is for you too, which is why maybe you haven't pressed forward, even though you say, you're getting closer to that point, that, there is some value to sort of the family unit still being together, even if you two are estranged. And so it's a lot easier to do nothing wholeheartedly than to really choose a path and go down it, full speed ahead. So that stagnancy is very common when one or both parties is kind of just, holding out for the other to do something, for the other to force them to make a decision, because sometimes it's easier just not to, right? You're sitting there going, maybe he's going to change his mind. Maybe he's really going to choose me. Maybe he's going to wake up from the fog he's in. We could have a great life. We could have the family that I thought we were going to have. And he might be over there like, well, I'm not sharing a bedroom. I still get to see my affair partner. I still get to see my kids every day. And I don't have to go through a divorce, which means dividing half my assets and moving out and following a single parenting plan and everything else that divorce means. So I wonder if, when it comes time to actually follow through on the divorce itself, this is why he stalls, because divorce is huge. And the reality of divorce for many people, even if they said they wanted it or they dreamt of it, once it comes time to actually, look at the fact that you're going to be single parenting half of the time, and what does that look like? And how am I going to handle 3 kids on my own? How am I going to afford a second residence on my own? I have no idea what your financial situation is, but alimony, child support, legal fees. dividing half of retirement and assets. And I mean, that's enough to make anyone completely freeze in their tracks. So, here's the thing. Your spouse is just doing nothing. He is not letting you know that he wants to make the marriage work or do work. And I think that that's the biggest thing to focus on for you. It's been 10 months. You would not be preemptively ending your marriage. Those are 10 months during which he could have stepped forward in either direction. And most importantly, he didn't step forward in the direction of your marriage. He stepped into the spare bedroom and business as usual. How easy is that? How easy is it for him to continue to see his affair partner and continue to live at home and not have to go through a divorce? But he's not trying to repair the marriage. And he has not expressed a desire to do the work and heal. And I just want to say, I'm so sorry that you had to go through this betrayal, not only as a mother, as a parent. For anyone out there who's gone through this and has kids, it's extraordinarily painful to be a young parent and sort of have your family fall apart right as you were getting started. And to find out, during a pregnancy is so painful, So of course there's parts of you that are just holding on to having your family stay together and holding on to what could be. But again, if he's not showing you that he wants it as much as you do, I'm afraid that that is the answer. That no answer, no effort tells you what you need to know. That he might not be leaving, but it's probably not for the right reasons, not because he really wants to stay. Now, the only way to see something different would be to really go full force in one direction for yourself, So again, instead of looking at what he is or isn't doing and taking all of your cues from him, which by the way, I completely understand where that comes from. And I did the exact same thing because you didn't want your family to end. You want what you had hoped to have with this person who you were married to. But it disconnects you from what you really want for yourself. You want a spouse who's choosing you. You want a spouse who wants to be with you. You want a spouse who's trying to repair, who is trying to help you feel safe again, who is willing to communicate with you and take accountability. It sounds like you two just aren't even communicating. That's not a good sign. So it's almost like you're just two ghosts floating by each other every single day in the same house. The marriage is over. It's the circumstances and the living arrangements that haven't followed suit. And again, that's just what I'm getting from this letter. If you don't want the marriage to be over, stop avoiding your spouse. Go to him and say, unequivocally, this is what I want, and this is what it's going to require to get there. Are you in or are you out? And you'll have your answer. And if he has time to show you and you see that he's not walking the talk, you also have your answer. Or if you decide, you know what, I don't want to be with someone who can't commit to me and, have the confidence and courage to commit to our family, and you start pushing the divorce forward and saying, here's the next piece of paperwork. If he goes along with it, maybe he needed you to drive it forward. He just was having trouble taking responsibility himself. Or he'll push back and you'll find out what he really wants. So again, someone's going to have to do something here, and that someone might have to be you. And you don't have to do anything you don't want to do or you're not ready for, but just maybe those 4 options are worth considering. But maybe it's time to approach him with clarity about what your goal is in the relationship and find out how you can move forward, and also help your kids understand clearly what's going on in the home, because it sounds like nobody's in and nobody's out, and maybe some more clarity would be helpful for everyone. I hope this helps.